God can't trust a man who can't govern his thoughts. Welcome, brothers. God bless every single one of you guys. I'm super stoked for this video because this is one of the most important things as a Christian man, right? Because this is where the devil, the enemy, plays tricks. This is where all the sin starts, right? And we're going to get into so many verses and kind of how you can renew it and break free from these things. Like, let's bring up the example for porn. Like, I'm not the only one who struggled with this. If you're watching this video, you've probably have battled and struggled with that as well. But like, I want to show you like living proof that your thoughts are always what kind of dictates how you fall into sin, right? So let's say, like, how many times have you told yourself that you absolutely despise, you hate the thing, it's disgusting, you're never gonna watch it again, right? But then when the temptation comes, it actually like makes sense for you to give in. Like the devil is giving you all the most perfect excuses, all the reasons why that this one time is okay, and then boom, like this time it makes sense, and then you're never gonna do it again, brother. Like, just give in. It's deceit. That's how the enemy plays tricks. That's how the enemy gets us to push away from the Lord, to fall into sin. It sucks, but that's exactly where it starts. Every single action is done by a thought. Like the exact position, life position that you are in right now is just a combination of all your thoughts that have led to actions and have led to your life right now. That's all life comes down to. It's just an accumulation of thoughts that lead to action, that lead to life. So if you're able to like renew your mind, renew your thoughts, and focus on the good, and then that good leads to action, like that is the best way to transform your life. That's the best way to focus on what the Lord has in store for you, the calling, the purpose. Right? And that's how we walk in victory. That's how we walk with intention every single day. That's where it starts. It's all in our thoughts, right? I'm going to go to Romans chapter 8, verse 6. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, it's all going to come from the Bible, right? We can't do any of this without Christ. And I didn't write the Bible, so I'm not 100%. I'm not going to find all the pages in 3 seconds. So as I flip, just breathe like a king and add these good thoughts. How blessed am I? And just think about what you're grateful for. I want that's a little challenge. As I flip through the pages in the Bible, that's your time to just breathe and renew your thoughts, okay? That's what I want you to do. Romans chapter 8, verse 6, it says, "For to be carnally minded is death." It's death. You're dead in sin. You're bound to sin when you're carnally minded. When you think, if that means that you think you can do it by yourself, if that means your discipline, your willpower is going to get you through it, if that means you're entertaining the sin, you're playing around with the lustful thoughts, you're not taking them captive like we'll talk about later, then it's death. You're bound to that sin. You're held down by your mind. Your mind is holding you back. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Only then do we find like true life and peace. That's where it all starts, is by being spiritually minded, is by allowing God to guide you, is allowing the Spirit to lead your thoughts, which leads to action, which leads into you becoming, the man God is calling you out to be. But let's talk about the first thing, right? Or we'll mix them. For to be carnally minded is death. And I want you to imagine this. You're the most disciplined version of yourself. You have the most willpower. Like, imagine this version of yourself. You're the most disciplined. You have the most willpower, everything. It's all going good. But, just like any man, especially in this world, there's so many, lustful thoughts. Like, how much would this truly suck? Like, cool, you have the willpower. You have the strength by yourself. Cool. Let's imagine that. You have the discipline that you can overcome every single, sexual temptation that comes into your mind. But you still have to battle that. That sucks. To be spiritually minded is life and peace. Okay, you have that. But now you're carnally minded. You think that you can do it all by yourself. You have the most discipline. You have the most willpower. Sure, you're not giving into the temptation, but that sucks. That sucks to have to battle, to have to go to war against your mind, to have to go to war every single day. There's no peace in that. There's no life to that. You are still a slave to that thought, to that sin. It doesn't matter whether you're giving in or not. No, it shows your lustful heart. It shows where your heart and your desires, your mind is at. That sucks. There's no life and peace, right? But then he gives us this hope. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace. When your thoughts are renewed, when you're focusing your eyes, your heart, your mind, all of it is just focused on Christ, focused on the Lord, then your life, then your peace, then you're flowing, then you're moving. Imagine this. If you could just control your thoughts, if you could govern your thoughts, and your thoughts, boom, were leading you into doing good things, leading you into building that business, leading into, going out in the gym, right? But we can't be emotionally led. We can't. right? Because most men thinks that the sin starts with action. Oh, I fell into sin. I watched porn. I drank alcohol on the weekends. I smoked some weed. No, it doesn't start there. It doesn't start with the action. You've already failed long before. You've already failed like so much longer before. Then you bust that nut. Then you put that vape to your face or smoke that weed or put that alcohol to your lip. Whatever you may be struggling, like, you know what I'm talking about. But you failed long before. You think like you only failed into lust when you bust a nut? No. When you got that seed planted, that thought planted, and you start to entertain it, you lost the battle. You lost the battle. It's not the action that makes you fail. It is the thought every single time. It starts with what you allow to live rent-free in your mind when no one is watching. Right? You're giving permission to the devil. You're giving permission to the enemy. Every single time that you let that seed be planted, you are giving the enemy, the devil, like literally think about this, think about this strongly. You are giving the devil an opportunity to control your life when you are letting him plant these seeds. Right? Every single seed planted has the opportunity to become a forest. Right? Whether that's good or bad, but like one little seed that you entertain, that you don't deal with, that you don't take it to Christ, that will turn into a forest. Right? It says in James chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. Remember, just breathe, renew your thoughts. James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15. And it talks about lust specifically in this. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, like when that seed is planted, when the birth to the seed is conceived, it bringeth forth sin. Only after that seed is planted, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. So that's the second. When we talked about thoughts in Romans chapter 8, verse 6, we see being carnally minded is death. And now when that seed is like acted on, boom, that's death again. Each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desires, right? We have to die to the flesh. We have to die to our carnal minds. We have to die to this every single day. It's a new thing every single day. Right? The resurrection of Jesus Christ literally happens daily in us. We're constantly being born again. We're constantly letting this like new life, this new creature lead our life and not our old fleshly temptations and desires, the short-term pleasures. When you are letting those lead, when you are letting the emotions lead, that's why people get fat. That's why people are slaves to food and to processed food. That's why people can't stop watching porn. Like you think, oh yeah, when I get a girlfriend, when I get a wife, it's going to be easier and I won't feel lustful because I'll be able to use my sexual, like, no, that's not true. You're consistently like being bound and bound and bound. Being a slave to a sin means being a slave to a sin no matter what point of your life, whether you're married, whether you have a girl. No. If you are driven by lust, you will be driven by lust when X thing happens. Like so many people, oh, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to lock in when I graduate high school or college. Like so many people base, oh, I'm going to stop doing this when X happens. Like, no, you are a slave to that thing, brother. You are allowing the devil to control you through your thoughts. Being emotionally led is one of the worst things that you can do as a Christian man. It's one of the worst things that you can do. How many times has your brain led you into drinking, into, watching porn, into whatever? Like your brain doesn't know what's best for you. Only the Spirit does. Every repeated sin was first permitted by in thought, right? You first give it permission. When you allow the devil to just plant that seed, you are giving the enemy permission into your thoughts. And when you entertain it mentally, you've already agreed with it spiritually. When you're playing around with the thought, that means you already agreed to fully falling in, fully giving in. Entertaining the thought is where you lose. And this is arguably one of the things that requires the most discipline. And discipline is the fruit of the Spirit. But that doesn't mean it just snaps and it turns on. No, you have to build it in every single area of your life, right? One of my favorite verses in the Bible, and I recommend every single one of you guys memorize this. I think this was probably one of the first verses that I memorized. Is 2 Corinthians 10:5. It says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God. And then it's split by a comma, and there's another part. But that's the first part. Every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God. Everything that goes higher above God. Like you realize these things are all idols. Idols doesn't have to be like a gold cube that you're bowing down to. An idol is anything that you put above God, brother. So whether it's money, whether your biggest desire is money, whether your biggest desire is lust in the moment, or, getting drunk or whatever it may be, right? That desire is above God. Anything that goes against God and that now you're desiring, it's like, okay, I'm willing to like push back my relationship with God a little bit so I can give into these things. That's how bad, that's how evil it is. Like it becomes an idol in your head, and we have to cast it down. Everything that doesn't align with the purpose that God has for you, and you are suddenly, desiring to do that, image in your head, the imagination in your head is now above God, and we have to cast it down. Everything, not 95% of the things, not 50, not 75, 100% of the things that exalted themselves against the knowledge of God, boom, cast it down. And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. So taking every single thought captive, again, not 95%, not 85, not 99, 100% of your thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. That's what we are called to do. And you can imagine how much discipline that takes, like to pray when you don't feel like praying. Like every single time that thought comes up, you know that you should pray, right? That's an obvious. Yet it's so hard. It's so hard, but it requires discipline. It's a fruit of the Spirit. And we have to acknowledge that fruit of the Spirit in every single thing that we do. Everything. Right? Discipline is one of the strongest things that the Spirit allows you to have, that permits you to have. Because I can tell you what, that willpower that you have on your own, the discipline that you've built on your own, because believe me, I've built the most. There was a time in my life where I was, and I still am doing this, but like, I didn't have God. 6 a.m. wake up every single day, taking a cold shower, 100% clean foods, going to the gym, doing everything superly consistently, reading books. I was very disciplined. Anyone could look at me and see that I was disciplined, yet I didn't have God. And at some point, your discipline it's not that it breaks. It's not that the willpower isn't there anymore. It's that suddenly something becomes more important than being disciplined. You know what I mean? So it's not about having the most discipline, because at some point, like there's going to be that desire. Like imagine if something in 10:5, 2 Corinthians 10:5, if something can go against God, like the strongest thing in the world, if something can go up against God, it can definitely go up against your discipline. So your discipline isn't enough to save you. Your willpower isn't enough to save you. We have to lean and rely on God for these things. That's the most discipline a man can have. It's not waking up at 6 a.m. It's not doing the cold shower. These things are incredible and they've changed my life, but that's not what makes a man. What makes a man is leaning not into your own understanding, but leaning and relying on the Lord, allowing the Spirit to lead you, right? A man without mental discipline will always be controlled by his flesh. Because here's one thing, you don't always rise to your intentions. Like your intentions don't mean anything. Intentions is not the same as obedience, right? You will always fall to your mental habits. Whatever you allow in your brain is what you fall into. So if you have this like super high standard, boom, now every single time that you get that lustful thought, that desire to go out with your friends, that desire to do whatever, right? And you just take it captive, you bring it to the obedience of Christ. It doesn't have rule over you anymore. But as soon as something is like consistently like tempting you in your head, you are a slave. You are bound to that thing in that moment. So you have to give it to Christ. There's nothing stronger than Christ. There's no desire. There's no temptation that's desire than Christ. If you bring him present into the moment, nothing is overtaking that. But that requires discipline, brother. And if you look at the community, that's something that we love to take seriously, is just discipline in everything that you do. Luke chapter 16, verse 10, which I'll go into actually for the next verse that I'm going to go into. But it shows how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you have to practice this spiritual-led discipline every single day. It's not like we can't be driven by our emotions. How many times, like I asked you earlier, I want you to rethink about it. How many times has your brain led you into doing the evil, into doing the wrong, into doing the things that you've told yourself that you're disgusted by and that you hate? Your brain doesn't know what's good. Your brain doesn't know what's best for you. All it wants is comfort. There's times where I get like 9 hours of sleep, 2.5 hours of REM, 1 hour of deep sleep, whatever. Like I track it on my Apple Watch. I love taking my health super seriously. I feel like that's one of the most overlooked sins nowadays. And it throws off people's discipline. Like that same muscle that you use when you walk by a piece of chocolate and you decide to give into that craving is the same exact muscle that's getting trained every single time you give into the food craving, is getting trained into, boom, sexual temptation. Nope, I'm just going to give in, right? You have to train your mind into pushing the fleshly short-term desires aside into everything you do. Like every single Christian man should be living this kind of, dopamine detox lifestyle, disciplined lifestyle where you're constantly like denying your flesh constantly in every single thing you do. Because if you're not denying your flesh in all that you do, and you think like your only battle is like watching porn, for example, or drinking, whatever your vice may be, right? Scrolling, whatever it is, right? If you think that's like the only time that you're going wrong, well, every single other thing that you decide not to deny your flesh and you just give in, it's just training your muscle to not doing that. It's training your brain to just, okay, give into that, give into that, give into that, give into that. Like you're called to live a disciplined lifestyle. You're called to bring your body under subject, right? That's in 1 Corinthians. The Apostle Paul talks about it. Like it's profitable to you to live disciplined life. Like try waking up a little bit earlier. Try putting the more you can put the purpose over the pleasure in your life, the more that's going to bleed into every single aspect. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Luke chapter 16, verse 10. But I had a point and then I got distracted with the food thing, but maybe it'll come back to me. If not, it's all good. That was a good point. And every single Christian man should live by that. That should be like a rule of life. And it truly feels amazing. Like the more you can do that, the better you feel. Like I've been doing 2 workouts. I've been doing a Muay Thai workout and a strength workout every single day. Swimming sometimes. Like just pushing yourself to the next level. And there's no excuses, right? I'm a full-time college student. I make these videos. I work out. I cook my own food. I got a girlfriend. Like there's always time. There's really no excuses. There's no excuses. And when you're truly grateful for like each area of your life, each cornerstone, your faith, your relationships, your health, like you will make time for everything. That's how gratitude is truly revealed. Like anyone can sit here and tell you, oh, I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z. Anyone can do that. Anyone, and 99% of the world will, right? But what's true gratitude is like actually taking action. People will talk about, oh, I'm grateful for my health. Lord, thank you for waking me up in the hospital today, or in my bed instead of a hospital today. But it's like, and then you go and eat a McDonald's hamburger, cheeseburger. Like, come on, geez. Are you really grateful? Do your actions really reveal your gratitude? I remembered what I was talking about now. It was about like the cold shower and the waking up early. But waking up early is one of the best things that I've done. It's 9:45 right now. I've recorded all the reels. I've gone on a walk, cold shower, made my bed. I've journaled, got into the Word, read my book. There's so much you can do when you wake up early. Like think about it. If you do like an hour, if you set your alarm clock an hour back, like let's say you're waking up at 9 and you decide, boom, okay, I'm going to start waking up at 8. First of all, it's going to suck when that alarm hits. It's going to suck. But then it shows, okay, purpose is over pleasure here. I know that like this is so beneficial for me. Boom. Then you already start off your day by putting your purpose over your pleasure. The snooze button is one of the worst things that you can do, because every single time you give yourself like an intention, you're intentional about something like setting your alarm, or you tell yourself you're going to do something and you break that something, you don't have your word. Like you've lost your word. And that's one of the worst things you can do as a man. Like that's what makes people lose so much confidence. But when you're constantly fulfilling your word, you tell yourself you're going to do something, boom. Even like it's better to set your alarm clock back 15 minutes, and we're just talking about alarms here, but it can be for anything. It's better to do just a little bit of something that you can commit to than telling yourself and mentally masturbating to the idea of making this huge life change, but then you look in the mirror, you broke your word, and now you're losing your confidence, right? Holding your word, having your word is one of the most respectable things that a man can have, and it will bring you so much more self-respect. Like it will give you the self-respect that you deserve to have, that you deserve to carry yourself with. But like, let's say you set your alarm clock back for 30 minutes. That gives you 3.5 extra hours to do whatever you want to do throughout a week. Like you're gaining 3.5 hours. And now let's say, per week, right? For example, screen time. I want to talk about this too. This is kind of really interesting. But 3 hours of screen time a day, and then I promise I'm going to stop. But I just want to make this point so you can see it's significant. 3 hours a day of screen time leads to 45 days lost throughout at the span of a year. So if you're watching for 365 days, 3 hours a day of whatever, just consuming content or whatever, boom, you've lost 45 days by the end of the year. Just take that in. But he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. In other words, if you're being faithful in the small things, God will see this. This is in red letters. God will see this, and he will, it shows the Lord. He sees that you will also be faithful in more that he gives you. But if you're unjust with what you have right now, the situation, why would he bless you with more? That shows that you're going to be unjust in what he's given you, right? God doesn't entrust authority to men who won't guard their inner life. Like your thoughts, the most basic thing. That's like the one thing every single 100% of the world, if you're a person, you have thoughts, right? That's the one thing God has given all of us. Like that is the least. That's just part of our divine being. And if you can't even control that, what more can you control? And it's hard. I'm not saying by no means is it easy. But if you can't govern your thoughts, you're not ready to govern anything else. That's the first step. And once you do govern your thoughts, brother, it's gonna make the biggest difference ever. Like this is where the true renewal comes in. This is where the true victory is born. I love this verse so much. And you guys should also memorize this. It's Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind," right? So don't be conformed to this world. All these worldly things, all the people telling you that it's okay to watch porn, all the people offering you to smoke weed, all the people inviting you to the bars on the weekend, all the worldly things, all the worldly lust, the desires, the short-term pleasures, scrolling, coming back home and spending hours on TV while eating Doritos, right? All the things that the world like showcases and makes it seem cool or fun or that you should be doing. Don't be conformed to that. We're meant for something different. The path of Jesus is a narrow road, brother. And how do you not be conformed to that? How do you stop giving into these things? How do you stop, most importantly, desiring and running after these things? Well, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's where it all starts, brother. That ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So the only way that you can do what is good and acceptable in God's eyes is by the renewal of your mind. It's not about trying harder. It's not about building more willpower and discipline like we've talked about. It's about thinking differently. It's about desiring new things, like the things that are actually going to quench your soul, your spirit. A renewed mind produces a disciplined life without constant struggle. As a result of the renewal in your mind, you will crave new things. You will crave harder things. It produces a disciplined life. That's like fruits, right? Fruits of how you're living. A renewed mind produces a disciplined life. Let me say that again. A renewed mind produces a disciplined life. You don't have to just go out and strive to build discipline. It is a fruit of the Spirit that is built through renewing your mind. And you reinforce it through, yes, every aspect of your life, like I talked about. It reinforces your discipline. It gives you more, but it starts. The discipline is only truly produced. It's only created when your mind is renewed. And that's how you live a life without constant struggle, without the constant warfare in your brain. No one wants that. No one wants that. So surround yourself with better people. Start consuming content like this. Applaud to you for watching 23 minutes of this, right? Listening to better music. Don't allow the devil to even plant the seeds, right? Because the seed is what makes the sin be born, right? It's what gives birth to the sin. But God bless every single one of you guys. If you want to be around ambitious Christian men who are like-minded like you, first link in the description, join the Forge Brotherhood. It's amazing. A bunch of ambitious Christian men from all around the world pushing each other to the next level, raising the daily standard for life. There's hours and hours and hours and hours of modules and courses that I built out that have changed my life. Absolutely amazing. We do 2 calls every single week, Wednesday and Sunday. It's amazing. Like if you go in there, step into it, you'll see like how God is moving in it. It's incredible. It makes me shed a tear when I get in there. But for real, God bless you guys. First link in the description. I'll probably pin it in the comments too. God bless. Take action on this. Govern your thoughts. Let's get it.